Condolences to the Mabuza family, the ANC, the people of Mpumalanga, and the country at large after the passing of our former Deputy President, who was affectionately known as Buti. We pay tribute to him and appreciate his role in liberating our country and for his developmental approach in governance. He was like a still water in the midst of chaos and a reasonable voice in the midst of confusion. Lala ngokuthula msheng. This year, we also mark 30th anniversary of the inauguration of the Constitutional Court, which is both a living monument of the victory of the vision of the Freedom Charter, which is also 70 years. The court is a monument of the triumph of the liberation struggle over the barbarism of apartheid and a symbol of our continued effort to create a South Africa in which, among others, all are equal before the law, and as proclaimed by the Freedom Charter clause that said all shall be equal before the law. Honourable members, I stand to table budget vote 25 and its priorities. The department will continue to direct all its efforts towards improving not only performance, but also its impact through service delivery. The most pressing challenge is limited funding, with the department facing a severe annual budget shortfall of approximately, the department facing a severe budget shortfall of approximately 1 billion over the MTF period. For the financial year 25-26, the department's budget allocation amounts to just over 25.3 billion, of which 13 billion is allocated to compensation of employees, 5.4 billion for goods and services, 3.5 billion for transfers and subsidies to public and constitutional entities, 2.6 billion for magistrates' salaries, and 652 million for payments of capital assets. The fiscal environment demands of us to do more with less and to be prudent in our spending. The department will prioritize increasing access in terms of its priorities to justice, the continued implementation of the TRC report as adopted by Parliament, the turnaround of the master's offices, improved state litigation, the fight against gender-based violence and femicide, fighting fraud and corruption, acceleration of transformation of legal sector, operationalization of the traditional courts, and review of all apartheid laws. Honourable members, to improve the quality and availability of the services at the Master's Office, we will partner with private sector and other government agencies such as SARS and Home Affairs to implement a digital solution that will enable operational efficiency and effectiveness. The Office of the State Attorney has been experiencing significant operational challenges due to lack of capacity and systems. The implementation of a turnaround strategy is underway at the State Attorney, which includes systems overhaul, capacitation of offices, such as special focus of teams that will be focused on SCA and Constitutional Court. On the TRC matters, the preamble of our constitution enjoins us, all of us, to work together to heal the division of the past. The TRC made recommendation in June 2003. Parliament approved that report and granting of reparations to TRC verified individuals in respect of final reparation in the form of once-off grants of 30,000, medical benefits and other forms of social assistance, symbols and monuments, rehabilitation of communities for purposes of contributing to healing the wounds of the past and restoration of human dignity. The total amount paid to individuals as interim reparation is almost 53 million. The total amount paid for final once-off individual grants is just below 500 million. The basic education total number of learners funded is 11,934 learners, and payments to beneficiaries in this regard has been about 137 million. The total number of students funded is 1,922. This is post-matric qualification. And the payments made to the beneficiaries in respect of reparations in this area is 132 million. Gallows exhumation project of a total of 180 remains recovered, including missing persons, gallows, and other cases. 76 have been handed over to families, and we will conclude the 2 remaining this year, and this will bring this project to an end as part of fulfilling our obligation. On the TRC-related criminal cases and inquests, there are a total of 158 separate investigations, of which 7 matters on the criminal court roll, 7 reopened inquests, 10 formal inquests, 6 finalized inquests, and 4 pending inquests, and 2 evictions. Sorry, 2 convictions. So it's not true when people in the public are saying we are not doing anything to ensure that those who have committed crimes during apartheid actually face the might of the law. Honourable members, President Ramaphosa has established a judicial inquiry. In this, it's to look at allegations regarding efforts or attempts that were made to stop the investigation or prosecution of the TRC cases, to be chaired by a retired Constitutional Court Judge, Sisi Khampempe, and we have committed ourselves to supporting this work as the department. Ladies and gentlemen, gender-based violence and femicide continues to devastate individuals and communities. We have a duty to do all that we can to protect the victims of gender-based violence, especially women and children. More importantly, prevention will be better than having to deal with the aftermath. In this connection, the department has adopted a victim-biased and victim-centric approach, which puts the victim first to avoid case bungling, which gets perpetrators off the hook, and secondary victimization. Over the 2024-25 period, NPA recorded 3,697 convictions in relation to sexual offenses, which will amount to about 79% conviction with direct imprisonment. And this, honourable members, while 44,147 victims were supported at our Tutuzela care centers, these are 66 across the country. So work is currently underway, and we can say 79% would want to see more in terms of that performance. In collaboration with SAPS, the DNA project has processed 60,518 DNA samples to track and deal with repeat sexual offenses and serial rapists. Going forward, we will increase the national footprint of sexual offenses court, particularly in rural communities, with additional 16 sexual offenses court to be established in line with the recent amendments to the law and 2 additional TCCs. The Sexual Offences Court shall assist to deal with the alarming figures of sexual violence in the country and offer support services that are tailor-made for the survivors of sexual crime. Additionally, we will ensure that all convicted sex offenders are registered in the NRSO and initiate a process to review the legislation that is currently an inhibitor to providing the register publicly, but more so we will improve in terms of the turnaround time in responding and issuing court orders, protection orders, in terms of ensuring that within 24 hours they are issued by clerks of court. Honourable members, in fighting crime and fighting fraud and corruption, the department will increase efforts towards disrupting and reducing the efforts of organized crime through a multi-stakeholder approach, collaborating closely with key partners including SAPS, DPCI, SARS. The Asset Forfeiture Unit, honourable members, of the NPA successfully recovered over 3.9 billion in ill-gotten gains through the implementation of a corporate alternative dispute resolution mechanism. And further, in the financial year 24-25, the SIU recovered a cash value of more than 833 million, asset to the value of 1.3 billion, set aside irregular contracts worth 5.6 billion, and prevented potential loss to the state to the tune of 2.7 billion. The establishment of the special tribunal has also allowed for expedient resolution and substantial recovery for the state, showcasing the unit's effectiveness. Further work that will be done in this financial year is the Anti-Corruption Enhancement Unit in the SIU that will be dedicated to do lifestyle audit, but also amongst its other responsibilities is to look at the issues of whistleblowers and whistleblower protection. On the front, in terms of our work in global space and what we had to deal with, NPA will continue to lead efforts to addressing the weaknesses identified by FATF, working with all partners. SIU as well, on the other hand, will continue to support the Department of Public Service and Administration in coordinating the G20 Anti-Corruption Working Group. In this regard, SIU head Advocate Mutibi was nominated to chair the G20 Anti-Corruption Working Group for this year. Honourable members, this work remains critical for us and will continue to do so, and ensuring that our footprint globally doesn't lag. On transformation, it is clear from the statistics that the legal profession is not transformed. And we have to ensure that this situation turns. That's why, honorable members, our fight against the court judgment that has been brought by Norton Rose have to go on, and we have to fight. We've got to ensure that we are changing the environment in which the current Black practitioners are finding themselves, where they are not finding work in complex and specialized areas of law, such as commercial law, maritime law, private international law, competition law, and others. Instead, most Black female and female legal practitioners often find themselves doing work in the fields of labor and personal injuries and family law. This situation has to turn, and our part we will do is to be able to ensure that we utilize state attorneys' offices to turn around the situation and improve on the briefing patterns. On building a capable state and skills development, the Bridget Mabandla Justice College is currently embarking on strategic repositioning journey, aiming at transforming into a capable, high-performing organization that is professional, efficient, and responsive to the need of the sector. Among other things, JC has already established specialized schools and training as follows: the Schools of Prosecution, the Forensic and Cybercrime Academy, Sheriff's Introductory Course Program. The Directorate will also establish the following schools in August 2025: Alternative Dispute Resolution, Legal Interpreting and Language Studies, Constitutionalism, Human Rights and GBV, Masters and Family Law Training, Paralegal Studies and Trial Advocacy, Forensic Investigation Techniques, amongst others. And this is the work that we must encourage to continue to do as it builds capacity of the state. The Department on Review of Legislation remains committed and will continue to prioritize the review of justice-related colonial and apartheid-era legislation to align with the Constitution of the Republic. The new legislation, all legislation that will be reviewed, will look in terms of ensuring that we improve and promote access to justice. This will go in the format of looking at all those that needs to be abolished in terms of an omnibus bill that will abolish those legislation, and where we need to do minor amendments as well will bring, and those that needs long-term or more comprehensive review will have to do. Honorable members, let me conclude with the words of Nelson Mandela from the speech he delivered at the inauguration 30 years ago. He said, "We have fought hard for the basic principle enshrined in the Constitution. The rights and freedoms it proclaims are not simply words taken from hallowed text in other parts of the world. They represent our endeavors and our dreams of a free and just society, quote unquote." Honorable members, I have the pleasure as a Minister of Justice and Constitutional Development to table budget vote number 25 for your approval. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Honourable Minister. I will now recognize Honourable Ngola.
Thank you very much, House Chair, the Minister and the Deputy Minister of the Department of Justice and Constitutional Development, all the heads of the institutions that belong within the Department, the Justice portfolio, honorable members. Let justice be done, though heavens may fall. In 2017, the nation was confronted with the devastating news of the shooting of the former Secretary General of the African National Congress Youth League and a dedicated public servant, Comrade Sindiso Makak. He was robbed of his right to life as enshrined in the Constitution. His family robbed of a son and a father, and were robbed of a true patriot who was committed to advancement of his country. On Monday, Justice Mlaba handed down a 25-year sentence to Sbusiso Ngengwa after he pleaded guilty to the charge of murder. We applaud the investigating and prosecutorial teams. Lawlessness should never be allowed to thrive while the wheels of justice may appear to turn slowly. They never stop turning. May Comrade Sindiso Makaka's soul rest in peace. House Chair Budget Vote 25, Justice and Constitutional Development contains 5 programs, as well as a direct charge for magistrate salaries. The department is accountable for the administration, court services, state legal services, a national prosecuting authority programs. Program 5, auxiliary and associated services, also contains transfer payments to Legal Aid South Africa, the Special Investigating Unit, Information Regulator, the Office of the Legal Services Ombudsman, the South African Human Rights Commission, and the Public Protector South Africa. For 25 is allocated 25.4 billion rands for 2025-2026 financial year, including a direct charge for magistrate salaries of 2.6 billion rands. In real terms, the vote allocation increases by 0.3% when compared to 2024-2025 financial year. The main key cost drivers for 2025-2026 are the compensation of employees, which amounts to 15.57 billion or 62% of budgeted expenditure. Goods and services, which is 5.4 billion rands or 21% of the total vote allocation. Transfers and subsidies, which is 3.6 billion rands or 14% of the total vote allocation. Payments for capital assets, which is 652.4 million rands or 0.4% of the total vote allocation. Program 2, lower court services, facilitates the resolution of criminal and civil cases by providing accessible, efficient, and quality administrative and quasi-legal support to lower courts and justice service points. New performance indicators have been added, include a target of 70% of convicted sex offenders registered in the National Register for Sex Offenders within 10 days from the date of receipt of the conviction order. A target of district court upgraded in line with the minimum standards for domestic violence support services, and a target of less than 1% of criminal cases postponed due to unavailability of court administrative support services. These targets are inextricably linked to the objectives of the 3GBV Acts this House passed. Under Program 3, legal service, the state legal services, the department has added the new performance indicators, including a 20% target of the implementation of the legal sector code to ensure participation of previously disadvantaged individuals, a target of 20% of briefs allocated to previously disadvantaged individuals, a target of 30% of fees paid to female legal practitioners. State Legal Services Program is allocated 1.9 billion for 2025-2026 financial year compared to the 1.7 billion of the previous financial year. This is a 5.7% increase, budget increase. The department's commitment to transformation of legal profession and leveling the playing fields is welcome. The National Prosecuting Authority receives 6.3 billion rands compared to 5.7 billion rands from the previous financial year. This is a 2.5% increase in real terms. The IDEX budget allocation increases by 9%. Chair, the committee has raised grave concern about Legal Aid South Africa's budget decrease of 2.1%. More so because the entity's expanded mandate. Last week, I touched on the importance of the Land Court Act in light of the land justice. Section 16 of the Land Court Act 2023 provides that the party in legal proceedings has the right to appear and get legal representation. Where the party cannot afford to pay, the matter must be referred to Legal Aid South Africa. During the budget vote on the Office of the Chief Justice, we raised our concerns once again on the issue of security in courts. This issue was raised during the committee's oversight visit to KwaZulu-Natal. An incident such as the shooting which took place in the One-Beck Magistrate Court could never take place ever, should never take place ever again. Lawlessness should never be allowed to reign supreme. Appropriate measures should be put in place. The 2025-2026 annual performance plan indicates the department's plan to implement the security strategy to create a safer environment for all personnel and citizens who come to courts daily, targeting 20% implementation of the strategy in 2025-2026. Details regarding the strategy are scant, which will make it difficult for the committee to assess the implementation of the 20%. The committee has suggested that the department consider amending its APP to include specific measurables for this indicator. The department reported that it will implement the code recording audiovisual solution in 2025 to replace the outdated court recording or CRT system, targeting the rollout of CREVs to 50% of courts in 2025-2026. We're aware of the department's reliance on CETA and the challenges thereto. We have requested a report on the status of the process to procure CREVs by 31 July 2025. Increasing evidence suggests that the success of the criminal justice system in dealing with crime depends on its ability to mobilize support from the community. Community involvement by reporting crime, identifying perpetrators, testifying in court, and assisting in the reintegration of ex-offenders is a challenge that faces criminal justice systems in many countries. As we continue to advocate for additional funds to be allocated to where service delivery and justice may be compromised, communities must be placed at the center of all our endeavors of having a just, equitable, and safe and peaceful society. Budget Vote 25, Justice and Constitutional Development, has been tabled by the Minister. House Chair, I recommend that the House approves it. Thank you. Sorry, Chair.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Honourable Member. I will now recognize Honourable Nomvalo.
Thank you very much, House Chair. Honourable members, we just want to place it on the record that we vehemently reject this budget. And part of our reasons is what the Minister has also spoken about the inability of the department to transform the legal profession. Honourable Minister, if you can go to Durban, if you can go to Deno House, go to Metropolitan Building, go to Embassy Building, you will find that many offices are occupied by legal firms which are directed by young and Black people. But there is little financial support that they get from the Department of Justice. And for that reason, we're not going to support this budget because it doesn't have strategic and innovative interventions that it makes in that regard. Honourable members, today we want to start our debate by quoting a very significant legal principle which says, "Let justice be done, though heavens may fall." Following the aforesaid, as the MK Party, we rise to pledge our unwavering support to Lieutenant General Mkhwanazi for his bravery and fearlessness that he demonstrated in the past few days. We further support his sentiments that the task team of political killings, which was established in 2018, must continue doing its work without any fear of prejudice, and all dockets thereof must swiftly be taken from General Sibiya, who has a questionable credibility, character, and integrity, and be brought back to the task team for political killings to enable it to effect arrest where instructions of such were already given. Subsequent to that, we further make a clarion call that further investigations about prosecutors and magistrates who have been alleged to have participated in rescuing drug syndicates in Johannesburg must be made by the Office of the Public Protector and SIU swiftly. These institutions must expedite such investigations so that we do not embrace rotten potatoes which will exacerbate an undesirable administrative turmoil presently facing state institutions in the police department and the Department of Justice. We stand here today to salute the KZN Commissioner. We say to him, South Africans are with you. Never give your expensive and rich attention to Ongrim no Jahidata ANC Youth League, who are trying to be popular by launching weak political onslaughts against you using the media. We know that you will never be moved by any political brouhaha and halabaloo. Honorable members, we want to state it precisely and firmly once again that we are not supporting this budget for reasons we are advancing here under, which explain terrible circumstances under which entities falling in the Department of Justice and Constitutional Development operate. The NPA is currently in shambles because of the incapable incumbent, which has a responsibility to supervise its work. Amicable solutions which can rescue the NPA from the reputational crisis it is currently engulfed with are written on the wall. But Mr. Ramaphosa refuses to espouse them because he doesn't want to offend those who protect him against legal repercussions for hiding dollars under mattress while ordinary South Africans are swimming in poverty. The first solution is that the president, as the appointing authority, must fire Advocate Shamila Batoyi with immediate effect for her incompetency. She has not only run the NPA like she's running a saloon, but has equally failed to supervise the prosecution of prominent cases like the Omotoso case, Sindiso Makaka case, Gupta extradition, Senzo Meyiwa, state capture cases, and many more. Another solution is that the NPA must stop enrolling cases wherein investigations have not been completed. On top of the case backlog, which denies justice by delaying it, the NPA continues to enroll cases with incomplete investigations. Some of those cases get withdrawn and suspects get acquitted at a later stage because of insufficient evidence. The taxpayers are on the receiving end that prosecutorial demise because victims of unlawful arrest and detainment take legal actions for civil damages incurred during the unlawful arrest and detainment. Honorable members, the NPA proves it every day that equality before the law and justice are just a myth in South Africa. Hence, criminals who thrive through extortion, drugs, heist, and so on and so forth are more richer than academics, entrepreneurs, and professionals. There is no justice for the poor. It is only for the rich, the politically connected, and corrupt politicians. The magistrates in this country continue to work under deplorable circumstances. Every day they work under severe threats in court because there is no security personnel designated for their safety, notwithstanding the fact that they pass through criminals every day in court, some of whom are out on bail. When we did oversight in KZN, we made gruesome discoveries. The scanners in the courts were not working properly and the infrastructure was severely dilapidated. The APP of the department does not inspire confidence. It is not inspirational. It doesn't propose any paradigm or radical shift. It is just full of semantics. It doesn't even raise concerns about the safety and well-being of magistrates. While the magistrates continue to do their work with due diligence, their salaries are unjustifiably low, their benefits are ludicrous, and their safety is at risk inside and outside their workplace. As the MK party, we are extremely disturbed to learn that 30 years after democracy, this directionless GNU is still leasing offices in the state attorney in Durban and other provinces. We know that this backwardness is deliberate because there are people who unduly benefit from it. Why is it so difficult for this government to procure buildings for government entities dealing with serious and very sensitive jobs and which keep delicate state information and records like the state attorney? As the MK party, we know that such is happening because there is no political will, and it opens a window for unethical and corrupt deals. The environment under which human personnel work in the state attorney is catastrophic. It makes workers to be unproductive and inefficient. Each attorney minister is allocated 1,000 and something files. Surely this is irrational. We are on record, honorable members, making a submission to this committee
Honourable
that part of what precipitates a crisis in the state
Honourable
attorney
Mvalo,
is
the
the
time is
inability.
expired. Yeah, it has. Thank you, Honourable Member. I will now recognize Honourable Engelbert.
Chairperson, this is a vote that directly affects justice, fairness, and safety in our country. This budget pertains to a department buckling under the pressure of decades-long underfunding with poor service delivery as a direct result. Today's debate must be centered on ensuring that the Department of Justice and Constitutional Development is properly funded and promote access to justice for all South Africans. The department has been allocated 25.4 billion rand for the 25-26 financial year. I hope that this is a budget that can propel the South African justice system on a path towards recovery. However, I must stress that it is equally important that we spend the money we have wisely and deliver the best possible service to South Africans. We need our courts to function just as much as we need our prisons to function. We need to ensure that the criminal who goes through the justice system comes out a better person. An important cog in a justice system is the effective management of caseloads at courts. Court backlogs are a problem that negatively affects all South Africans and their perception on the rule of law. If the department wants to reduce criminal case backlogs by 70%, as the department stated it would, it needs to appoint more magistrates, increase court hours, and fast-track delays caused by forensic bottlenecks. This must be provided for in the budget. The department has to slash its 53,000 criminal case backlog urgently. The intrinsic link between our courts and our prisons cannot be ignored. The crisis in our prisons feeds on the crisis in our justice system, and vice versa. The systemic problems in the criminal case, the justice system, are driving overcrowding in our prisons. Over 50,000 people are behind bars awaiting trial, some for months, even years, because the courts cannot hear their cases. For example, at the Krugersdorp Correctional Center, designed for 1,296 inmates, over 3,300 people are incarcerated. In the remand section, over 75 people are crammed inside a cell that was built for 32 people. One official is often tasked to watch over 650 detainees on his own. This is inhumane, it is dangerous, and threatens the safety of inmates and officials alike. And it risks the total collapse of our correctional system. Chairperson, this budget must be spent in ending the revolving door between correctional services and the Department of Justice. If the latter fails, the former will fall with it. This budget is not without shortcomings. It is problematic that we see real-term cuts in three critical budget areas. Court services are cut by 0.4%. Facilities management, which handles court buildings, drops by 12.5%. And the administration program is down by nearly 6%. The department plans to drive modernization, anti-corruption, and digitization within the department. It is, however, worrying that only 0.4% of the budget will be spent on capital investment. Chairperson, the DA believes in a justice system that works for everyone, not just in theory, but in practice. That means courts that sit full days, magistrates who are properly supported, and budgets that match the task at hand. Improving service delivery in the Justice Department is a prerequisite to fixing all the departments which is linked to it. Until the department fixes its internal dysfunction, correctional services will remain a dumping ground for people caught in the cracks of a broken justice system. Victims deserve faster trials. Accused person deserves a fair process. South Africa deserves a criminal justice system that rehabilitates criminals we prosecute and incarcerate. Our correctional officers deserve relief from the unbearable pressure caused by this department. I hope that spending this budget carefully and wisely can result in significant improvements in our justice system. But if we waste money through corruption, fruitless spending, and bad governance, we risk losing the rule of law. That is one thing we cannot afford. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Honourable Member. I'll now recognize Honourable Musala.
Parliament, Mahlabane le batho ka moka ba Afrika Borwa, nyefe gana vote 25 ya lefapha la toka le tlhabollo ya molaotheo. Tekanyetso e ga se ya toka ke ya go šireletša bao ba amanago le dipolotiki, e laola tshenyo ya toka, gomme e dira go hloka toka go bonagale o ka re ke setlwaedi. The 25.3 billion allocation is not a blueprint for justice. It's a firewall against accountability. It deliberately fails to empower prosecutors, protect whistleblowers, support anti-corruption work, or defend victims of political violence. Chairperson, this failure is not accidental but structured. The Office of the Public Protector remains underfunded at 376 million. There's no growth, no plan to expand regional capacity, no digitized investigations, and no support for whistleblowers, despite their ongoing assassination while government hosts workshops and delivers speeches. The National Prosecuting Authority, meant to be the cornerstone of justice, remain a sub-program under this vote. It is politically and financially tied in the same executive it must prosecute. 106 million was stripped from the investigating directorate, while cases like the Palapala, the National Lottery scandal, and the Gupta extraditions remain frozen. Just over a month ago, the National Director of Public Prosecution, Shamila Badoy, admitted on national television that the NPA is infiltrated. Instead of facing this reality, the minister rushed to defend her, saying she used the wrong word. That is not leadership, it's a coordinated cover-up. The truth is the NPA will never prosecute powerful politicians while it is funded and controlled by them. This budget keeps the NPA on a financial leash and corruption of the hook. In this same climate of protection, we must locate today's revelation. Lieutenant General Mkhwanasi confirmed that the Minister of Police, Senzo Mchunu, solicited funding from a businessman with 3 billion in subs contract. Mchunu denied knowing the man, but evidence proves otherwise. Mchunu also disbanded the political killings task team in KZN and froze post in crime intelligence. These are not blinders, they are tactics to collapse accountability. Yes, Mchunu is not under this vote, but the Department of Justice is the gatekeeper to prosecution, and this budget gives it no tool to act. There's no funding for high-risk corruption cases, no whistleblower protection, no independence for the NPA. Chairperson, justice dies like this, not because of firing of bullets, but through budget that stuff the truth. The SIU is expected to fight elite corruption with a real increase of just 0.7%. The SIU tribunal is still temporary. There is no amendment to allow SIU to litigate independently, no civil recovery strategy. It is a paper tiger intentionally caged. Chairperson, state capture continues quietly. The public investment cooperation remains a looting ground for the elite. In 2011, Dubai World and London Regional sold the VNA waterfront to the PIC. To this day, South African beneficiaries have received nothing. The matter is in court, but the judiciary delays with the corrupt enjoys the returns. This department has made no effort to budget for forensic litigation unit, no anti-fraud recovery team, no specialized legal office to fight back. There's always money to protect corruption, but nothing to prosecute it. South African Human Rights Commission is on life support. Its budget has dropped by over 20% in real terms since 2023. Key programs like human rights defenders, OPCAT, environmental litigations are erased. Rural outreach is dead, and this budget says nothing about the rebuilding. The information regulator is becoming a Schedule 3A entity, but without rural rollout, mobile reporting, or cybersecurity, the working class remains excluded by design. Women return to maintenance court 5 or 6 times to enforce one order. There's no funding for tracing officers, no investigators, no digitized system. Even SGBV is declared a national crisis. There's still no dedicated funding to fast-track gender-based violence cases, no trauma support in every court, and no rural-based GBV prosecutors to ensure survivors get the justice they deserve. Chairperson, as I close, the legal aid South Africa is stretched beyond breaking point. Rural offices are forgotten, extradition fail, economic fugitives enjoy VIP passport. There's no cross-border prosecution strategy with no multilingual legal teams and no international coordination. Why? Because this department refuses to fund one. This budget is not neutral, it's complicit. The EFF demand the following: a standalone vote for the NPA by 2026 with full budget and legislative independence, urgent tabling of the whistleblower protection bill with funded legal aid and trauma support, amendment of the SIU Act, permanent tribunal appointments, and independent litigation funding. The forensic litigation unit to investigate corruption linked to PIC, a national maintenance plan with court-based investigators and digital system. Go fihlela lefapha le fa ditšhelete go šireletša nnete. Kemelo le go swara maatla, palamente e swanetše go gana tekanyetšo e. EFF ka mehla e tla lwantšha toka e šireletšago barui, gomme e gotla bahlaki. Ke nako ya go fediša mararankodi mo nageng ya borena. Basela borena le na le mararankodi. Until Shamila Batoyi leaves, we will never rest as the EFF. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Honourable Member. I will now recognize Honourable Langa. Honourable members, please. Can we allow members on the podium to also debate?
Thank you very much, House Chair, and greetings to the Minister, Deputy Minister, the department leadership led by the SG.
Honourable members,
House
sorry,
Chair.
Honourable Lang, I've requested that, in fact, this plenary is very small for us to shout. So please, can we respect one another and stop shouting? Honourable Lang, please continue.
Thank you very much, House Chair. I was still greeting the department led by the DG, honourable members and fellow South Africans. House Chair, the IFP acknowledges that while the demands placed on the Department of Justice and Constitutional Development are immense, they are not insurmountable. As a key component of the justice cluster, the department must fulfill its role in building safer communities, promoting accountability, combating corruption, and strengthening judicial governance and the rule of law. Minister, no reasonable investor will invest in a country plagued by corruption, high crime, and most critically, a low rate. Foreign direct investment is vital for developing economies to overcome overcome structural challenges. While policymakers design attractive incentive packages to draw investors, internal issues like rampant crime undermine these efforts. Criminal activity not only raises the cost of doing business, but also reduces demand in high crime areas, deterring potential investment altogether. The department plays a pivotal role in creating a conducive environment to realize the medium-term development. Failure undermines the strategic priorities of inclusive growth, job creation, poverty reduction, and building a capable, ethical, and the IFP notes with concern the department's budget allocation. While we recognize the constrained fiscal space and need for trade-offs, this department is too vital. Therefore, such trade-offs risk delayed, such trade-offs risk delayed or denied justice. Honourable House Chairperson, while the whistleblower protection framework remains delayed, whistleblowers are dying. There's a growing lack of confidence in the state's ability to protect, and out of fear, we choose to turn a blind eye to corruption. This reflects impunity with which criminals operate, knowing that arrests are rare and accountability is unlikely. The IFP shares a public concern that little is being done to hold those implicated in state capture accountable. While it remains a stated priority, there is no clear direction. Continued delays in prosecution risk undermining the value of commissions of inquiry, which may ultimately be seen as fruitless expenditure if they yield no consequences. Public confidence in the NPA is at an all-time low. However, the work of the NPA is not always viewed holistically. While challenges remain, there is also commendable work being done. The greatest concern lies in the failure to convict high-ranking individuals, which fosters the perception that those in powerful position are above the law. We are hoping with the recent saga alleged to be involving the Minister of Police and high-ranking police officials that justice will take its course. Minister, the NPA cannot afford to fail. We hope that despite current financial constraints, sufficient prioritization will be made to safeguard this critical institution in its IP supports budget talks.
Thank you very much, Honourable Member. I will now recognize Honourable Sauls.
Thank you very much, Honourable House Chair. Greetings in the wonderful name of our Lord and Savior, Jesus Christ. Oinke Ahuniki. The Justice and Constitutional Development Vote 25 allocation increases by 3% when compared to the 2024-2025. With such a high unemployment rate, we find it disappointing that the National Prosecuting Authority has 1,098 vacant posts as at 31st January 2025. Dear Father, the Department's Strategic Plan 2025 to 2030 includes 9 outcome statements. I want to zoom into 3. Outcome 7, fighting crime and corruption through prosecution. We support the budget, hoping that outcome 7 will be achieved when we think of the selfless life of Detective Clint Skippers from Makassar, Cape Town, who, like a real-life hero, risked his life in a shootout with 12 cash-in-transit criminals. One died, and because of him, the rest was arrested, but he walked away with 5 bullets in his back. He didn't just take a bullet for his country. He took 5 and still walks around with 2 in his back. And now, how does the justice system thank him? Instead of a promotion or a medal or even a payout, no. He rather has to pray for a way out. After he protected his family against the house-breaking attempt, a case of self-defense was changed to murder after a year. In this justice system of ours, such a hero gets arrested, thrown in jail with hardened criminals he gave 16 years of his life to arresting. We support this budget so that outcome 7 must be achieved to deal with the corruption in the system against many like detective constables. If not, then we cannot help but wonder, is this justice? The Justice Department received an allocation of 25.4 billion, including direct charge for magistrate salaries of 2.6 billion. We are making sure magistrates' salaries are secured, yet magistrates like Judge Morolong in Kimberley today gave an illegal immigrant who murdered 3 South African young people, Opile Jonas, Michaela Boyson, and Calvino Matthews, a mere 5 years, running concurrently with 2 years suspended. Uriel, we must ask, is this justice? Outcome 8, apartheid era justice related legislation reviewed, replaced, and as it relates to constitutional development, the apartheid racial classification of Khoi, San, colored, Indian, and one segment of white South Africans being legislatively considered black in general, but not African in particular, must be reviewed and totally erased. Otherwise, we must ask again, is this justice or just ice in a glass of expensive whiskey enjoyed by the deep state when they say cheers to a corrupt system they alone benefit from? PA supports. Munib Baizali, Minister. Salute.
Thank you, Honourable Member. I will now recognize Honourable Dana.
House Chairperson, the importance of this department, its mandate, its entities, and their respective mandates cannot be overemphasized. This department and its entities play a pivotal role in ensuring the stability of our democracy. To quote the report of the Portfolio Committee, an efficient justice system is crucial to a functioning democracy as it upholds the rule of law, protects individual rights, and ensures fair and equal justice for all citizens. Sadly, we're not there yet. And Chairperson, I say yet because this goal is attainable if the necessary will, political and otherwise, means, management and cooperation across the department's entities as well as other departments is leveraged toward the goal of realizing an effective justice system. But first, we have to start with the basics. Basics such as indicators from the strategic objectives that emanate from the medium-term development plan that have been omitted from the department's APP, as identified by the Auditor General. These include very important aspects such as whistleblower protection legislation to be introduced in Parliament and to report on the review of South Africa's anti-corruption architecture as implemented, as well as the annual report on the implementation of the Child Justice Act to be submitted to Parliament by the target date, the annual report on the implementation of the Criminal Law Sexual Offences and Related Matters Amendment Act submitted to Parliament by the target date, and the percentage reduction in the criminal case backlog on the court roll. Reports, however, can be rectified much easier than the large-scale challenges our justice system and this department has to face. Funding constraints have always been a problem and continue to be. Dilapidated court infrastructure is another seemingly insurmountable interdepartmental challenge that significantly contributes to the breakdown in access to justice. The reduction in the allocation for the department's capital work program, therefore, is especially worrying, and the performance of the Department of Public Works in turn is lamentable, to say the very least. Dit en verskeie ander faktore soos 'n tekort aan die nodige toerusting, tolkdienste, personeel, voorsittende beamptes en ander hulpbronne het 'n domino-effek op die ganse regstelsel. Dit gee aanleiding tot oorbevolking in ons tronke, waar verhoorafwagtendes direk verantwoordelik is vir die tekort aan beddens in ons korrektiewe diens en in ons korrektiewe fasiliteite. En verskeie howe kan 'n mens vir die aanhoor van siviele sake eers 'n datum in 2031 kry, om maar enkele voorbeelde te doen. Om nie eers van die toestande by die meesterskantore te praat nie. Our Chapter 9 institutions are underfunded, undercapacitated, and overburdened. And institutions such as the Human Rights Commission have their own specific internal challenges to deal with on top of that. Many have lamented the NPA and the failure to give effect to SIU findings and the slow pacing Zondo prosecutions. Most of these remarks, not all of them, should be taken seriously. But first and foremost, the way of working in silos should be addressed with urgency. The effect of failure within one part of the justice system is not felt in silo, it is felt across the spectrum. Greater cooperation and coordination within the JCPS cluster and across government are needed to ensure accountability and an entire justice system that truly contributes to our democracy. It's been said many times, and I will say it again, because it's even more true in the context of the South African justice system. Here, justice delayed is indeed justice denied, because it is within the control of the powers that be to change the status quo. Not doing so is an injustice to all. I thank you.
Thank you very much, Honourable Member. Now recognize Honourable Trollip.
House Chairperson, the Department of Justice and Constitutional Development that allowed the disbandment of the Directorate of Special Operations, the Scorpions, to protect senior government individuals and led to their incorporation into the SAPS and called the emasculated Scorpions the Hawks should be ashamed. Action SA has long advocated for the establishment of specialized corruption courts to fast-track the prosecution and conviction of corruption cases. The urgency has never been more clear, especially in light of the expose by Commissioner Mkhwanazi. The Zondo Commission recommended over 1,400 individuals, companies, and government entities to be investigated for their roles in straight capture. In a written reply to Action SA, the Directorate for Priority Crime Investigation said only 200 recommendations have been prosecuted or prioritized. These have led to just 12 court cases, addressing only 38 of the 1,400 recommendations, a mere 2.7%. If this department and this GNU has no appetite to prosecute these cases, we do. If I can adapt and borrow from the words of William Shakespeare and Julius Caesar and say, I have not come here to praise the NPA. I've come here to expose it. The NPA has failed with the Zizi Kodwa case. The NPA collapsed the Stina Dairy case. The NPA botched the Cholota extradition in the 255 million rand asbestos case involving Ace Magashule. And they did that in spite of the fact that there was a recent Constitutional Court ruling in the Schultz matter 2 months before the extradition, where it made it clear that the minister had to authorize extradition. When the NPA were asked, did they discuss that? They said, yes, we did, but our lawyers weren't present. Aren't you all supposed to be lawyers? The Bushuri saga, also botched, is at large 5 years later, entertaining the former SG of MKP and now President Maibuye as a hero in Malawi. The Timothy Omotoso case, after 8 years, botched, released. The prosecutor that botched it, what has he done? He's been assigned to the Fort Hare case, where people have been murdered, assassinated, corruption, racketeering. Not serious. Action SA will soon introduce the zero tolerance corruption bill to break the cycle of impunity in this parliament, with mandatory minimum sentences for corruption, permanent bans for political office bearers, and convicted individuals. In China today, a civil servant, a public official, former public official, Mr. Wang Yong, was sentenced to death for accepting a 38 million rand bribe. Serious, China. We're not serious in this country. If we were, many people who are making laws in this parliament wouldn't be here today. If we took this seriously and adequately funded the criminal justice system, maintained our court infrastructure, paid judicial, magisterial, and prosecutorial staff appropriately, we would have more prosecutions and less corrupt criminal members of parliament and the executive running our country. Action SA cannot support this budget until criminal legislators and members of this executive and in the ranks of the opposition are put behind bars. Thank you.
Thank you, Honourable Trollip. The next speaker will be the Honourable Deputy Minister of Justice and Constitutional Development.
Chairperson, honourable members, I join in the salutations and condolences extended by the Minister. The theme for the 2025 State of the Nation address delivered by President Cyril Ramaphosa was a nation that works for all. A nation that works for all needs an accessible and well-functioning justice system that works for all. That is what this budget is about. It means the protection of human rights, an independent judiciary, well-functioning courts, fair and speedy trials, and efficient justice services. It means translating the vision of the Freedom Charter and the Constitution of a society in which all are equal before the law into a lived reality for all, not a privilege for the few. This year, we celebrated Freedom Day under the theme, United in Resilience for the Defense of Our Freedom and Democracy. This is a clarion call, given the increasingly strident assaults on the judiciary, the rule of law, and the very notion of a constitutional democracy. We support Judge President Dunstan Mlambo when he cautioned that, and I quote, "Powerful people criticize the courts with unsubstantiated cases. Powerful people who criticize the courts, who impute corruption and other negative imputations on this judiciary are a threat to our rule of law," close quote. Strengthening the institutional independence of the judiciary must proceed hand in hand with the establishment of a single judiciary. It's vital that the independence, capacity, and resources of the small claims courts, the district and regional courts are enhanced. We are committed to expedite the development and introduction of the lower courts and magistrates bills in consultation with the judiciary led by Chief Justice Mandisa Maya. There are 1,717 permanently appointed magistrates, the majority of whom are black, 77%, and female, 54%. We remain concerned by the delays in filling vacant positions and finalizing disciplinary processes. We've raised these matters with the Magistrates Commission. We will also issue revised guidelines for the appointment of acting magistrates. Both the Minister and I continue to visit courts regularly, announced and unannounced, to ascertain firsthand how we can support the judiciary in dealing with the many challenges they face. My constituency in Mitchell's Plain continues to experience both crime and the socio-economic causes of crime. I'm working with my counterparts, the Deputy Ministers of Police and others, to address the spate of recent horrific killings. The Integrated Justice System program seeks to strengthen the fight against crime by enabling the many departments and entities in the criminal justice system to work together more effectively through the efficient exchange of information. Recently, I experienced the accuracy of the new integrated person management system during a demonstration at the Mitchell's Plain police station. I'm very happy to share with this House that when I entered my own biometric details, it indicated that I was not being sought by the police. We commend the Rules Board for Courts of Law, led by Justice Nambita Dambuza, for their consistent and excellent work. The recently finalized e-justice rules will contribute to the modernization of our justice system. We're also fighting crime through our legislative program. The Whistleblower Bill, or the Protective Disclosures Bill, will improve protection for persons who blow the whistle on crime. The Extradition Bill and the International Cooperation in Criminal Matters Bill will both modernize the law relating to extradition and enhance the fight against crime across our borders. Our outdated Criminal Procedure Act of 1977 is being reviewed by the South African Law Reform Commission to bring it in line with the Constitution and to make it more effective. We commend the Commission under the leadership of Justice Chris Jafta for their sterling work. Turning to the civil justice system, small claims courts make a huge contribution to the accessible, affordable, and expeditious resolution of civil disputes involving claims of 20,000 rand or less. Nearly 37,000 small claims cases were registered countrywide during the 2024-25 financial year. The value of these claims is over 253 million rand. We call upon more legal practitioners and judicial officers to volunteer to serve as small claims court commissioners. This year marks the 40th anniversary of the introduction of small claims courts in 1985. In addition to increasing the monetary jurisdiction of small claims courts, we are also reviewing the Small Claims Court Act. We commend the Council for Debt Collectors for their important role in the administration of justice. Legal Aid South Africa, led by Deputy Judge President Mbele, plays an active and vital role in ensuring access to justice by providing legal representation to indigent persons at state expense. Legal Aid South Africa's mandate continues to expand and now covers legal representation in land disputes. This mandate cannot remain underfunded. Honourable members, we commend the Human Rights Commission led by Reverend Chris Nissen and the Public Protector, Advocate Koleka Taleka, for the work they do in supporting our constitutional democracy. We're committed to strengthening the powers and institutional independence of both these important institutions through legislative review. Cabinet has approved the designation of the Human Rights Commission as the national preventative mechanism in terms of the optional protocol to the UN Convention Against Torture. This requires commensurate resources for the Commission. The Human Rights Commission is also supporting Casta Semenya in her case before the European Court of Human Rights. The ruling will be delivered tomorrow. We eagerly await justice. We commend the information regulator led by Advocate Pansy Tlakula for its work in protecting private information. In the 2024-25 financial year, the regulator dealt with 1,727 reports of security compromise incidents. This regulator is in dire need of additional resources. Our constitution is premised on the right to equality. We're resuscitating the National Task Team on Sexual Orientation, Gender Identity and Sex Characteristics rights to combat hate crimes against the LGBTQIA+ community. We urge Parliament to expedite the nomination of a representative to serve on the Equality Review Committee established in terms of the Promotion of Equality and Prevention of Unfair Discrimination Act. Honourable members, the Freedom Charter commits that South Africa shall strive to maintain world peace and the settlement of all international disputes by negotiation, not war. We reaffirm our support for the International Court of Justice and the International Criminal Court. We support the steps currently underway to strengthen the ICC's jurisdiction over the crime of aggression. We're deeply concerned that judges, prosecutors, and staff of the ICC are being threatened with sanctions and that the provisional measures issued by the International Court of Justice in South Africa's case of genocide against Israel are flagrantly ignored and violated. Former President Nelson Mandela said that our own continent has suffered enough horrors emanating from the inhumanity of human beings towards human beings. Who knows, many of these might not have occurred or at least been minimized had there been an effectively functioning international criminal court. Honourable members, dialogue is central to our being as a nation. It is an affirmation of our commitment to human dignity, the conviction that we exist in relation to each other, and that wisdom is a shared, co-created good, not a possession on which some have a monopoly. It's no accident that the Constitutional Court's logo is the mighty baobab tree under whose protective branches disputes have for generations been settled in a participatory manner through dialogue. We call upon all South Africans to participate in the forthcoming national dialogue, to eschew our arrogance and to remember that we exist with and through other people and that they do not exist for us and our privilege. I thank you.
Thank you, Honourable Deputy Minister. The next speaker will be from the ACDP, Honourable Steve Swart. Thank you.
Thank you, House Chair. House Chair, There's a massive shaking taking place in our nation. And this follows the explosive revelations by Lieutenant General Makwanazi of crime and corruption at the highest level of SAPS, even at the ministerial level, with the tentacles of organized crime reaching out into Parliament, the NPA, and even the judiciary. The ACDP believes that Almighty God is indeed hearing the cries and prayers of crime-ravaged society, crying out for justice in communities where crime is so rampant. There's a shaking taking place, and it will expose the rot and corruption. But thankfully, we are given a kingdom that will not be shaken. Rot and corruption is being shouted from the rooftops. And we need to have more whistleblowers. We need better protection for those whistleblowers. But following these explosive revelations, the question arises as to who is to guard the guards? Quis custodiet ipsos custodes. It falls on us as parliamentarians to exercise oversight over the SAPs, over the NPA, and even over our own MPs. These shocking revelations need to be tested as soon as possible, either by an independent body of experts or even an ad hoc committee of Parliament. Crime-ravaged communities demand better policing and accountability. They demand justice. So should we. Chairperson, the ACDP has taken note of the criticism of the NDPP and the NPA, and whilst there are correct concerns about many judgments, such as the Omotoso, Charlotte matters, we can and should also celebrate the NPA's many successes. In this regard, we commend Advocate Zelda Swanepoel for the groundbreaking conviction and sentencing to life imprisonment of Apollos van Ryn and Smith for the kidnapping and human trafficking of little Jocelyn Smith, whose whereabouts are still today unknown. This case received international attention, and we as the ACDP also commend Justice Nathan Erasmus for hearing this case in the Saldanha Multi-Purpose Center, allowing justice to be seen, to be done. We trust that these heavy sentences will serve as a deterrent to other perpetrators and instill a sense of hope and public confidence in the NPA and the judicial system. Lastly, the ACDP wishes to thank all the officials, prosecutors, and members of the judiciary who every day, under very difficult circumstances, provide justice to our people. I thank you.
Thank you, Honourable Member. Is the speaker from the UDM here? No. The speaker from Rise, Honourable Ghana. Thank you.
Hey, and Katal no Guazana, ne? MK, right? Nakensam Tramashtul. Honorable members, fellow South Africans, there is that famous saying that says that justice delayed is justice denied. And today, too many South Africans are denied justice because the wheels of justice are grinding far too slowly. This department is meant to be the center of justice for victims of violent crime, for communities plagued by corruption, and for the many ordinary South Africans seeking fairness and accountability. But what we see is a system that is buckling under pressure and at times paralyzed. Take the Senzo Meyiwe trial, a national tragedy that has dragged on for years with no end in sight. Televised court proceedings might inform the public, but when they contribute to procedural delays, we must reassess their value. Justice is not a performance, it is a right. We do acknowledge, as Rise Mzansi, we acknowledge that the budget is inadequate for the volume of cases enrolled. But we also believe that the department can do much better. Too many prosecutors in lower courts are overwhelmed, under-resourced, and some, and we need to be honest, they are corrupt. They accept bribes to oppose or not to oppose bail. The result? People who should be behind bars are out on the streets, and those who should be free remain behind bars. Some because they can't afford bail as low as 500 rands. This cannot be justice, and this cannot be acceptable. Honorable members, this budget must prioritize the efficiency and integrity of the justice system. That starts with a well-trained, well-supported, and honest prosecutors. Those who are unwilling to serve with integrity should be shown the door. And last week, Honourable Honourable Minister wanted to open the door that was closed, and he wanted us to discuss corporal punishment. And as Rise Mzansi, we reject the return of corporal punishment. It is regressive and unconstitutional. Instead, let us promote community services and alternative centers to petty crimes. This will include cleaning public spaces, maintaining schools and cemeteries. We need to free up space in our overcrowded prisons and restore dignity to our justice system. And finally, Chairperson, we must move with urgency to protect whistleblowers. As long as billions are looted and whistleblowers are left exposed and in fear, the road will continue. Justice must not only be done,
Thank you,
it must
Honourable
be
Member.
seen to be done.
Your time has expired. Thank you very much. The next speaker will be from Bosa, Honourable Maimane.
I think all of us as South Africans have been treated quite extensively by the revelations that General Mkhwanazi raises. The old dictum that says innocent until proven guilty. I want to, in this instance, make it clear that we believe General Mkhwanazi until he's been proven to be dishonest. And that requires a process of thorough investigation. What General Mkhwanazi is stating is the feeling that we all have. That the fact of the matter is that your probability of finding a conviction after having convicted a murder is 1 in 5. For rape, that number becomes even less. This is something that is deeply worrying. General Mkhwanazi confirms for all of us what we've all felt, that state capture has not quite stopped. That is something that is continuing, and we all feel it in our day-to-day lived experiences. General Mkhwanazi tells us that we are fast shifting away from the rule of law to the rule of man. The idea that political decisions trump, in fact, what should happen in terms of the rule of law. Honorable members, it is time for us to be deliberate and act now. We will soon be asked to declare the state capture report as wasteful and fruitless expenditure, until we soon see prosecutions that must take place. So, Honorable Minister, I have a number of points I want to raise with you. In February, your ministry committed to making the National Register of Sex Offenders public. We have to see progress in this. Because in truth, for our teachers, only 7% of the nearly 500,000 educators have been screened against this. I take my kids to school. I'm sure honorable members do the same. We can't put them at such risk. For police, as of now, only 245 SAPS personnel have faced scrutiny in this regard. This is a significant risk in a country that is facing such a chronic issue of violence. Honorable Minister, you promised the whistleblowers protection and legislative reform. I'm sure we can come here today and we've got to make a commitment to expedite that issue. Because more people take their lives to risk to tell us what is going on. They need protection, and they need protection from you. So I welcome the decision by Parliament to put together an investigation. The last point I want to make, Minister, is that as the end of the term of the current National Director of Public Prosecutions, Let us codify into law the appointment of the next, begin now, and make sure we get a candidate who will replace Advocate Batoy. Justice cannot be allowed to be subjected to the rule of men. So let's make sure we act now, fund properly, and deliver a justice system that works for all citizens. Ke a leboga bagaetsho.
Thank you, Honourable Member. The next speaker will be from the ATM, Honourable Zungula. Thank you.
Thank you. There will never be justice with the foundational legal framework of the country, which is the Constitution. That is a result of negotiation and compromise. We must address the constitutional development aspect to ensure we have a constitution that is informed by the aspirations of the majority that was colonized and oppressed for over 400 years. Section 25 is central to the amendments to be made. The current cut-off date of 1913 for addressing land dispossession ignores the centuries of colonial theft that began in 1652. By starting in 1913, the Constitution sidelines the original dispossession of indigenous people, limiting land reform to a narrow slice of history. This perpetuates injustice as it fails to address the root cause of today's inequalities. We must shift the cutoff date to 1652 to encompass the full scope of colonial land grabs. This change acknowledges the original sin of dispossession, paving the way for comprehensive land reform that restores dignity, economic power to those whose ancestors were stripped of their birthright. Section 25 of the Constitution must be amended to prohibit foreign nationals from owning land in South Africa. This ensures that land remains in the hands of South African citizens, prioritizing national sovereignty and economic empowerment. Foreign ownership risks inflating land prices, limiting access for locals, undermining efforts to address a historical land dispossession. We need to further amend Section 25 of the Constitution to mandate the nationalization of the strategic resources, such as minerals, ensuring that they are owned and managed by the state for the benefit of all citizens. It is an injustice
Honourable
that a
Member,
country...
will you just take a seat for a second? I have a hand. What is your point of order? And which rule? Thank you. But what is your point of order? Can you switch off your mic, please, Speaker?
Chair, on the grounds of relevance, may I just remind Honourable Zungula that the debate on land was yesterday.
Sorry, that's not a point of order, a valid point of order. Please continue, Honourable Member. Thank you. Thank you very much. You may continue.
My time needs to be brought back.
It stopped when you were stopped.
No, it was 1 minute and 5 seconds.
I think it stopped at the right time, but go
Yeah.
on. I'll give you a few extra seconds.
Yeah, it's very disappointing to find a black person fighting another black person who's fighting for true land reform. It is an injustice that a country so rich in mineral resources is heavily indebted, more than 55% of its citizens living in poverty. It is not normal, and we must never normalize it. Countries that own their mineral wealth do not have the high poverty and unemployment rates that we have. Section 1, which is the name of the country. The name South Africa is rooted on colonial history and geographical description, does not reflect the self-determined identity of our people. All African countries got rid of their colonial names and had names with meaning and purpose. Hence, Thomas Sankara changed Upper Volta to Burkina Faso. We'll never support a budget that does not address the core fundamental issues in our legislative framework. Thank you.
Thank you, Honourable Zungula. The next few parties, I just want to check if they are in the House and if their speakers are present. Al Jamal, NCC, PAC, UAT, good. Then I will ask DA, Honourable Breitenbach, to take the podium.
House Chair, honourable members, in order to critically engage with the 2025-2026 budget vote of the Department of Justice and Constitutional Development, it's important to scrutinise the allocation and utilisation of resources to ensure that they are aligned to delivering justice. While the small increment in the budget is commendable, it remains woefully insufficient to ensure good administration of justice. Let's be honest, honourable members, our criminal justice system lies in tatters. The fact that any work at all is done successfully is nothing short of miraculous. And thanks to a dedicated core of officials and prosecutors who still do their best under circumstances that have become impossible. Court infrastructure is generally adequate but only just. Many courts are in a dreadful state of disrepair, with little to no maintenance done for 3 decades. To fix it is not a simple task, it will take a lot of time and huge resources. Inadequate working conditions do not encourage hard work or dedication. The lack of often even basic and hygienic bathroom facilities is a disgrace and leaves members of the public in a desperate situation. A lack of and often no filing or storage facilities leads to vital documents being damaged, lost, and sometimes destroyed. A visit to any court master's office or department office will reveal documents of any nature piled in no particular order in offices and sometimes in passages and stairwells. It is little wonder that members of the public are desperate for assistance and that the master's offices have all but ceased to function. Even the most routine documents take months to obtain, causing untold hardship to the most vulnerable members of the public. The department's progress in operationalizing the Limpopo and Mpumalanga divisions of the High Court, along with the establishment of the Land Court, enhance access to justice. Additionally, the rollout of the court online system to 16 superior courts demonstrates a commitment to modernization. But commitment without implementation is no progress at all. Despite these small pockets of progress, massive challenges persist. Many magistrates' courts, especially in rural areas, continue to grapple with inadequate infrastructure, staff shortages, and limited resources. Those citizens who have the least and need the most continue to be treated the worst. The digital divide further exacerbates disparities as communities lacking internet access cannot benefit from online systems. A comprehensive strategy is required to address these infrastructural and technological gaps to ensure equitable access to justice on all levels. A word of praise for the Regional Court President and her colleagues in the judiciary in Polokwane who have pioneered a system of making live court judgments available to the public on the virtual platform and making the proceedings accessible to everyone. Ensuring that interested parties can follow at a venue suitably resourced is a great initiative and should be rolled out. Similarly, Judge Nathan Erasmus should be loudly commended for taking the tragic trial of Jocelyn Smith to the area that was affected most by the crime, making it possible for the people of Saldanha to participate. A key question that needs answering is, however, how a very small budget allocation will address these issues more effectively. If the budget remains the same, what will be done differently within the department with the same funds to reach their stated goals? Nearly 2,000 posts at the NPA remain vacant, but with only a 2.5% inflation-adjusted budget increase, filling these posts will be impossible. While the NPA is hamstrung by a Department of Justice-controlled budget, nothing will ever improve. An independent anti-corruption body with prosecutorial and investigative powers is essential. The Department of Justice and Constitutional Development has made strides in certain areas. Significant challenges persist. Addressing these issues requires a multifaceted approach and encompasses adequate funding, something which we are not going to see in this budget. Honourable members, while I have some time left, I would like to leave you with this thought. On the 2nd of July, a woman of 102 years old, was raped and murdered in her own home in Butterworth, in the Eastern Cape. This behaviour speaks of a state of mind so depraved that I'm unable to fully grasp it. All the money in the world and the best criminal justice in the world will not fix this. Our crime epidemic cannot be blamed on a dysfunctional police service or the National Prosecuting Authority. It's a societal issue that needs urgent attention. The Minister referred to a free and just society envisioned by President Nelson Mandela. Well, this is not it. The Deputy Minister spoke of fair and speedy trials. and Honourable Ngola celebrated the conviction of the perpetrator for the murder of Sindisa Magaka. Yet the time lapse from the murder in 2017 to a conviction after plea of guilty in 2025 is 8 years. There's nothing speedy or fair about that. For a relatively uncomplicated murder matter, simply not good enough. And it's certainly not fairness for the family and friends of the victim. So we have a problem, honourable members. I don't know what's wrong with the men in South Africa that they think it's okay to rape 102-year-old women. And I thank you.
Thank you, Honourable Member. The next speaker will be from the ANC, Honourable Matafa. Thank you.
Thank you, Chairperson, members, fellow South Africans. Chair, maybe I think to add to what Honourable Swartz was saying in terms of some of the successes that the NPA achieves, and they are not making the headlines. We need to welcome the 14 billion that have been frozen of corrupt assets and the successful recovery of 6 billion that has been clawed back into the Kara account. If you look at the Department of Home Affairs, it's benefiting from the Kara account. The drones that they're actually hyping about are bought from the 6 billion that was recovered by the NPA. And to add to that, Chair, the successes in the Gauteng division on the conviction rates on organized crime cases and intimate partner femicide cannot be ignored. We agree there might be structural and operational challenges in the NPA, but to say that is a crisis, it's factually incorrect. It did make headlines, but it did not last long enough at the time that it was actually lost, the Nulani case. The NPA successfully had it reversed in the SCA. And as we speak, they are busy putting the charges together to enroll the case. So the call for the resignation of the NDBP, given those stats, I don't think that it's warranted. Chair, this year marks 30 years since the Constitutional Court adjudicated its first case, State versus Mangwanyan. The court explicitly acknowledged Ubuntu as a fundamental principle informing the interpretation of the Bill of Rights and other areas of South African law. The court unanimously declared that the death penalty was unconstitutional. In its judgment, Justice Langa expressed, during violent conflicts and times when violent crime is rife, distraught members of society decry the loss of Ubuntu. Thus, heinous crimes are the antithesis of Ubuntu. Treatment that is cruel, inhumane, or degrading is bereft of Ubuntu. Justice Langa made a call for a return to Ubuntu. The court made this response against the background of the loss of respect for human life as had been carried out by the apartheid government. Chairperson, the fourth quarter crime statistics reflect the antithesis of the philosophy of Ubuntu. While some progress in crime reduction is noted, we remain deeply concerned about the increase in sexual offenses, including rape and contact sexual offenses and commercial crime. In respect of sexual offenses, rape increased. The Gauteng and KwaZulu-Natal contributing 19.1% and 19.9% respectively to the national total. Guys, statistics behind the number are human beings, Abantu, who are entitled to Ubuntu. The Department of Justice and Constitutional Development is the lead stakeholder in the implementation of the objects of Pillar 3 of the GBVF National Strategic Plan 2020 to 2030. Recognizing the difficulty witnesses experience in testifying about intimate details of these crimes, the department saw the necessity of establishing and rolling out sexual offences court and having special facilities such as private consultation rooms. Our government recognized the impact of sexual abuse on victims, especially child victims, which often has far-reaching short-term and long-term physical, emotional, psychological, and developmental effects. To this end, the department will continue to establishing 16 sexual offences courts in 2025-26 financial year. It has been reported that an additional 90 sexual offences courts will be established in communities with the highest incidence of sexual offences to ensure a dedicated focus on these cases and provide for a victim-friendly court model and support systems. The Sexual Offences and Community Affairs Unit plans to increase the number of Tutuzela care centers to 74 over the strategic cycle. In response to one of the public protector's remedial actions to the department, a simplified and shorter version of the application for a protection order will be introduced. We appreciate that the undertaking that the department will continue to encourage vetting of persons who work with or conduct business that give direct exposure to vulnerable persons against the National Register for Sexual Offenders. And we welcome the minister's commitment that this register will definitely be made public. All these efforts are critical because the true measures of any society is found in how it treats its most vulnerable members. Chairperson, a vote in favor of this budget reflects our commitment to fighting crime and corruption. There are consistent meanings of state capture. Transparency International describes state capture to be one of the most pervasive forms of corruption, where companies, institutions, of powerful individuals use corruption such as buying laws, amendments, decrees, or sentences, as well as illegal contributions to political parties and candidates, to influence and shape a country's policy, legal environment, and economy to their own interest. Close quote. As we deal with the dire consequences of state capture, we know the progress made, which include asset recovery linked to state capture with a value of 11 billion by March 2025. 4 state capture commission cases have been concluded, all with guilty verdict. Now, the argument here initially was that there is no effort, the wheels of justice have stalled. Therefore, as much as we are not entirely happy with, it's an indication that work is being done and work will continue to be done. And we are very grateful for that. And we recommend all the work that is being done there to continue. The National Treasury imposed a 10-year ban on Bain & Co. on doing business with the state, which Bain is challenging in court. The establishment of their investigating directorate against corruption, which is permanent entity within the NPA, and received its allocation from this budget. The National Anti-Corruption Advisory Council has concluded research into the institutional reform recommendations of state justice may be said to be turning slowly to 10. Chairperson, in the State of the Nation address, President Ramaphosa committed that a whistleblower protection framework would be finalized and a bill introduced in Parliament in 2025-26. We are of the view that the legislation reforms are needed to strengthen whistleblower protection. We know the important role of whistleblowers, as well as the grave risk attached thereto. Whistleblowers are often seized with serious repercussions, such as the loss of jobs, career prospects, compromises to their safety, and all their loved ones. In some cases, whistleblowers even risk their own lives. Some have lost their lives. We echo the sentiments of our former Chief Justice, who said, whistleblowers help to stop state capture. They must be duly protected. A vote in favor of this budget ensures that the Special Investigating Unit continues with its investigation. It saved government of approximately 8 billion rands in the 23-24 financial year. The vote ensures that the NPA is capacitated well to successfully prosecute without fear, favor, or prejudice. It ensures that the asset forfeiture unit continues to hit criminals where it hurts the most by removing profit from crime. A vote in favor of this budget, Chair, will ensure that indigent litigants are afforded proper legal representation in line with the dictates of justice. The vote ensures that the Public Protector and the South African Human Rights Commission are capacitated and protect our constitutional democracy, and magistrates are compensated. This vote ensures that our courts are capacitated and run efficiently, ensuring that justice is served to all people in our country. Chair, as I sit down, on the serious allegations that are made by Lieutenant General Mukwanazi, we support the process initiated by the Speaker of the National Assembly, that a thoroughgoing inquiry should be undertaken to get to the bottom of this allegation. As such, we will not be drawn to enter the debate because these allegations must be tested. And once they are tested, the three committees put together will report to Parliament, and there we will debate and make our recommendations known. The ANC support the budget vote. Thank you very much, Chair.
Thank you, Honourable Member. The final speaker for the debate will be the Honourable Minister of Justice and Constitutional Development. Thank you.
Thank you, Chair. Thank you very much, House Chairperson. Let me appreciate the inputs. Though some of the members might not have supported our budget, but issues that they've raised are what concern South Africans, and we'll take them on. Let me start firstly around the issues that have been raised, and thank you, Honourable Matafa, just to flag that. I think as the portfolio, we avail ourselves to the joint committee that has been established by the Speaker to deal with issues that have been raised by General Mukwanazi. We will avail ourselves to be able to be facing the scrutiny. I think we must applaud the Speaker for that swift process, but also we are awaiting to be able to be guided by the head of state, who said he will be dealing with this matter, and will leave it at that. Second issue that I want to deal with, Honourable Member, is dealing with the performance of NPA. Factually, this is what is happening in terms of the issues of the Zondo Commission. Of the cases, 82 recommendations comprising of 20 cases are still under investigations. 23 recommendations comprising of 9 cases are before courts. 4 recommendations comprises of 2 cases have been finalized. 11 recommendations comprising of 5 cases are under consideration for authorization within the system. IDEC decided not to prosecute 1 case involving 1 recommendation. IDEC also went beyond the recommendation and looked at specific areas where there were no specific recommendation. Out of this, 57 cases have been identified out of the report. 28 cases are before court, 23 under investigations, and 6 are being considered for authorization. It's not correct to say that no work has been done on the state capture investigations. Work continues. Again, what has been progress and important progress that I highlighted in my speech was the work that is done by Asset Forfeiture Unit, the companies that have been involved in state capture who are made to pay back the money. Building investment confidence is important, and that's why fighting crime and corruption does have a role, because investors look at one of the areas around our ability to be able to fight crime and corruption, and that's why we remain committed. You'd note, honourable members, that we have announced that in the portfolio we will be embarking on lifestyle audit across. In state attorneys, all of them, starting from the bottom to the top. In prosecutors, all of them, we're starting with senior management. In master's office, all of them. In legal aid, that work has started and I've received the report. And all of them, including the department, all of them are submitting, all entities are submitting quarterly reports in terms of progress so that I can look at how far they are going and what is happening. So the first reports have come and I do write to them to say I need the first report. So we will continue with this. Where I must acknowledge, honorable members, our work around whistleblowing protection intervention in the country is not sufficient, that I must say. We've acknowledged this, and that's why the president announced that we will be doing the review, and the work that has started by SIU will enhance. It is not correct to see in the news, to hear families losing loved ones who have been committed as public servants. In the portfolio, we have intervened to say we want ethical and capable employees. I have upfront said to the team, we will do everything in our powers to ensure that we build that. And we do believe that it is possible, it is capable, because those who serve the state and those who decide to join public service must know it's about serving, it's not about lavish lifestyle and better things. And we've said that those who want to own Ferraris with no trust funds from their parents means they can't be in state, because otherwise they'll end up doing wrong things. We have dismissed officials since I've been here, literally. Almost every week we are dismissing more than 10 officials in the justice portfolio, because we are ensuring that there are we're operating with no tolerance in terms of ensuring that people can do right. If somebody has taken money fraud, irrespective of 1,000, we are dismissing them. That I can assure you. Those officials who are maintenance officers, who are redirecting money out of the accounts of children to themselves, we've dismissed them and will continue to dismiss them. This is an ethical drive that we are driving in the portfolio, and we do believe that it will change the situation. Honourable members, on the issue of amendment of the Constitution and the budget structure, those powers lies with you. The issue that I want to speak to as I conclude is the GBVF. We need all society to be involved to fight the scourge. What Honourable Breitenberg has said about a 102 years old woman being raped and killed, but a toddler, less than a year, being raped. This can't continue in our country. It just says something about us as a society. I don't know whether we need prayers or we need ancestors, but something has to give, because we can't continue like this. It's not just about justice, it's about prevention, because once they are raped, they can't recover. We come at the end. We come to ensure that the court can give sentences. But that child who's been raped is destroyed for life. That child who has been molested is destroyed for life. And that's why we are calling NGOs, churches, everybody, let's work together to stop GBV. Thank you.
Thank you, Honourable Minister. Thank you to all those who debated today. And that concludes the debate and this business of the mini plenary session. The mini plenary will now rise. Thank you.